The most dangerous person in any confrontation is never the loudest, the most aggressive, or the most physically imposing. It is the calmest one. The person whose emotions do not rise when challenged, the person whose breathing does not change when insulted, the person who can see clearly while everyone else is trapped inside their own reactions. Miyamoto Musashi understood this truth centuries ago, and he built his entire life around it. Musashi was not undefeated because he was stronger. He was undefeated because he remained untouched by the emotional storms that consumed his opponents. Over more than 60 lethal duels, he faced rage, fear, pride, and desperation again and again, and each time his enemies defeated themselves long before he struck. He discovered something most people never do. The fastest way to lose control of a confrontation is to become emotionally involved in it, and the fastest way to win is to step outside of it. This insight became the foundation of Musashi's system for emotional control, a 4-step framework so effective that it made his opponents predictable, slow, and fragile under pressure. That same framework works just as powerfully in modern life, where confrontations may not involve swords, but still carry real consequences. The first step is the one almost no one practices. Chapter 1. Emotional distance. Stepping outside the storm. The moment someone challenges you, your body reacts before your mind does. Your heart rate spikes, your muscles tighten, your breathing shortens, your vision narrows. This is not weakness, it is biology. Your nervous system floods your body with stress hormones designed for survival. In ancient times, this response helped you fight or flee, but in modern confrontations, arguments, meetings, criticism, insults, it becomes a trap. Because once this reaction takes over, you're no longer choosing your behavior. Your emotions are. Musashi saw this clearly. He understood that the decisive moment in any confrontation happens before words are spoken or blades are crossed. It happens at the instant emotion seizes control. Most people never notice this moment. They become the emotion. I am angry. I am offended. I am afraid. Once that happens, their thoughts, words, and actions all serve the emotion, not their true goals. Musashi refused to enter this state. Instead, he trained himself to create emotional distance, a mental position where he could observe emotion without merging with it. In his writings, he described watching conflict as if from above, the way one watches clouds pass across the sky. The clouds move. The sky remains untouched. Anger passes, fear passes, pride passes, but the observer remains. This separation is subtle, but it is everything. Think about the last time someone made you angry. In that moment, you were not experiencing anger. You became anger. Your voice changed, your reasoning narrowed, your objective disappeared. This is exactly what Musashi's opponents did. They fought with emotion, he fought with clarity. That clarity made him unbeatable. The shift that changes everything. Emotional distance begins with a single internal shift. Instead of saying, I am angry, you say, I notice anger arising. Instead of, I am nervous, you say, I notice fear in my body. This may seem insignificant. It is not. This shift creates space, and space creates choice. When you label an emotion instead of identifying with it, you move out of the emotional centers of the brain and activate the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for reasoning, judgment, and self-control. Modern neuroscience confirms exactly what Musashi discovered through experience. Brain imaging studies show that naming emotions reduces their intensity. Therapists teach this technique because it restores access to rational thought under stress. Musashi trained this skill in the most extreme conditions imaginable, facing armed opponents, public humiliation, and mortal danger, until emotional distance became automatic. This is why he could remain calm when others unraveled. How his opponents defeated themselves. Musashi noticed a pattern in every duel. The moment an opponent became angry, they rushed. The moment they became afraid, they hesitated. The moment pride took over, they overcommitted. Emotion narrowed their options. Musashi waited for this narrowing. He did not provoke emotions accidentally. He used them strategically. In his most famous duel against Sasaki Kojiro, Musashi arrived deliberately late. He knew Kojiro was proud, quick-tempered, and obsessed with reputation. The delay was not disrespect, it was strategy. Kojiro became impatient. Impatience became anger. Anger became fixation. While Kojiro merged with his emotion, Musashi remained separate from his own. The duel was decided before it began. Why this matters more today than ever. Modern life exposes you to constant confrontation, emails, meetings, social media, relationships under pressure. You may not face swords, but you face stress, criticism, provocation, and disagreement daily. And most people react instantly. They fire off angry messages, they escalate minor conflicts, they damage relationships they later regret. Not because they are bad people, but because they never learned emotional distance. The calm person in a conflict doesn't just win arguments, they see options others cannot see, they hear what others miss, they control the pace while everyone else reacts. A simple practice that builds this skill. You do not need extreme situations to train emotional distance. Start small. The next time you feel irritation, frustration, or defensiveness, pause for half a second and say internally, I notice I'm feeling anger. I notice tension in my chest. I notice the urge to react. Do not suppress the feeling. Do not analyze it. Just notice. That noticing is the beginning of mastery. At first, the space you create will be tiny. With practice, it grows. Eventually, emotion no longer hijacks you. It informs you. Emotional distance is not coldness. This is critical to understand. Musashi was not emotionally numb. He was emotionally free. He felt fear, but did not obey it. He felt anger, but did not act from it. He felt pressure, but did not collapse under it. Emotional distance does not remove feeling. It removes compulsion. And without compulsion, you regain control. This is the first rule of calm in any conflict. Do not step into the emotional storm. Step outside it. Observe it. Let others be consumed by their reactions while you remain grounded in clarity. This alone will change how people experience you. They will feel your presence before you speak. They will sense that you cannot be easily pushed. And unconsciously, they will hesitate, because humans instinctively fear what they cannot emotionally manipulate. But emotional distance is only the beginning. Once you have stepped outside the storm, you must be able to see what is coming next. This brings us to the second principle in Musashi's system, anticipatory awareness. And that is where calm becomes strategic. Comment calm if you want the next part, where Musashi's foresight turns conflict into something predictable and controllable. Once you step outside the emotional storm, something remarkable happens. The noise fades. The pressure loosens, and for the first time, you can actually see what is unfolding in front of you. This is where most confrontations are truly decided, not by strength, not by clever words, but by who understands what is coming next. Miyamoto Musashi called this ability foresight, the capacity to sense the direction of a conflict before it fully forms. He believed that calm without foresight was fragile, and foresight without calm was impossible. This became the second pillar of his emotional control system. Chapter 2. Anticipatory Awareness. Seeing the move. Before it happens. Most people experience confrontation as chaotic. Words fly, emotions spike, decisions are made too late. They feel overwhelmed, not because the situation is complex, but because it is unexpected. Surprise is what makes stress overwhelming. Musashi understood that fear intensifies when danger feels sudden and unpredictable, but when a threat is anticipated, even if it is severe, the mind prepares differently. Stress hormones release in smaller, controlled amounts. Focus sharpens instead of collapsing. This is why trained soldiers, surgeons, and emergency responders remain calm in situations that would paralyze others. They are not calmer by nature. They are prepared. Musashi applied this principle relentlessly. Before a duel, he studied his opponent, not just their technique, but their temperament. How quickly did they anger? Did they rely on intimidation? Did they hesitate under pressure? Did they fight from pride or insecurity? He learned their habits the way a chess player studies openings, because humans, under stress, become predictable. Anger narrows options. Fear simplifies behavior. Pride locks people into patterns. Once you understand this, confrontation stops being chaotic. It becomes navigable. Patterns, not mind. Reading. Anticipatory awareness is not about guessing thoughts. It is about recognizing patterns. When someone feels challenged, their behavior compresses into a small number of likely responses. Attack, deflect, withdraw, dominate verbally. Musashi trained himself to see these pathways forming before they were taken. This gave him time to position himself, time to breathe, time to choose precisely, and time is power. Think about modern confrontations. A manager who criticizes constantly will likely criticize your next proposal. A defensive partner will likely shift blame when confronted. A pride-driven person will likely escalate rather than admit fault. These are not surprises, they are patterns. Yet most people walk into difficult conversations without thinking even one step ahead. Then they wonder why they feel overwhelmed. Removing the shock. The most dangerous element in any confrontation is shock. When something catches you off guard, your nervous system dumps stress hormones all at once. Your thinking narrows, your body prepares for threat. But when you expect resistance, your brain handles stress gradually. This is why anticipation alone can dramatically reduce anxiety. Musashi used this to devastating effect. He entered duels already familiar with his opponent's likely behavior. When they rushed, he was ready. When they hesitated, he advanced. When they bluffed, he waited. Nothing surprised him. Surprise is what breaks calm. Preparation protects it. The famous example revisited. Before facing Sasaki Kojiro, Musashi did not simply show up and fight. He observed Kojiro's reputation, his pride, his impatience, his dependence on intimidation. He knew Kojiro would arrive early. He knew Kojiro would be insulted by delay. He knew anger would narrow Kojiro's judgment. So Musashi arrived late, not out of arrogance, out of foresight. While Kojiro's emotional state deteriorated, Musashi's clarity increased. By the time the duel began, the psychological outcome was already determined. Anticipatory awareness can be practiced deliberately. Before any potentially difficult interaction, pause for 30 seconds and ask yourself 3 questions. What emotional state is this person likely in right now? Are they stressed, defensive, seeking control, afraid of losing status? What do they actually want from this interaction? Validation, control, relief, to be right? What are the 3 most likely ways they might respond? Attack verbally. Shut down. Deflect responsibility. This exercise does something critical. It removes surprise. Even if the conversation becomes tense, your nervous system will recognize the pattern instead of panicking. Recognition creates calm. Why this changes everything. When you anticipate behavior, you stop reacting, you respond. Reaction is emotional, response is strategic. Musashi believed that reacting meant surrendering initiative, and initiative decides outcomes. In modern life, initiative means choosing your words instead of blurting them out. It means steering conversations instead of being dragged through them. It means staying grounded while others spiral. Modern proof of an ancient insight. This principle is not theoretical. High-level negotiators use it constantly. FBI hostage negotiators, for example, spend enormous effort profiling individuals before conversations even begin. They analyze patterns, history, emotional triggers. This allows them to remain calm while others panic. They do not rely on emotional dominance, they rely on foresight. Musashi was doing this centuries earlier. with lethal precision. Anticipation creates emotional distance. Automatically, here's what most people miss. When you anticipate what is coming, emotional distance becomes effortless. Why? Because your mind is already one step ahead. The insult lands, but you expected it. The criticism comes, but you saw it forming. There is no shock, and without shock, emotion has no leverage. This is why foresight and calm are inseparable. Calm without foresight collapses under surprise. Foresight without calm becomes overthinking. Together, they create clarity, the trap of over-anticipation. There is a warning here. Anticipatory awareness is not paranoia. Musashi did not imagine threats everywhere. He observed reality. Over-anticipation creates anxiety. Under-anticipation creates chaos. The balance is awareness without obsession. Prepare, then release. When confrontation loses its power. Once you develop anticipatory awareness, something unexpected happens. Confrontations begin to feel smaller, not because people stop challenging you, but because challenges no longer destabilize you. You see the structure beneath the emotion, and structure is manageable. This is the second rule of calm in any conflict. Do not walk in blind. See the pattern forming before it arrives. Remove surprise, and the confrontation loses its power over you. But even emotional distance and foresight are not enough on their own. There is one force that can instantly override calm and anticipation alike: the body. Which is why Musashi's third principle focused not on thought, but on breath, and that is where calm becomes physiological. Comment, breathe, if you want part 3, where Musashi's breathing method gives you instant control over stress, anytime, anywhere. Even with emotional distance and foresight, Musashi knew something most people overlook. You can understand a confrontation perfectly and still lose control of yourself, because the mind does not lead in moments of pressure. The body does. Miyamoto Musashi understood that calm is not just a mental state, it is a physiological condition. And if the body is panicking, the mind will eventually follow, no matter how disciplined you think you are. This is why his third principle was not philosophical. It was physical. Chapter 3. Strategic breathing, commanding the body before it commands you. Before a sword ever moved, Musashi watched breath. He observed that when a swordsman became afraid, their breathing changed first. When anger rose, the breath shortened. When panic set in, breathing became rapid and shallow. Long before technique failed, breath betrayed the mind. Musashi realized something crucial. If you control the breath, you control the nervous system. And if you control the nervous system, you control the confrontation. Most people try to calm themselves by thinking, relax, stay calm. It's not a big deal. But during stress, the thinking part of the brain is already compromised. Your body is driving. That is why Musashi trained calm from the inside out. Why? Breath is the lever. Your breath is the only bodily function that is both automatic and voluntary. You don't have to think to breathe, but you can choose how to breathe. That makes it a control lever. Fast, shallow breathing activates the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. Slow, controlled breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, calm and regulation. This is not philosophy, it is biology. Musashi did not know the modern terms, but he understood the mechanism perfectly. He wrote repeatedly about breathing as the foundation of clarity. The breathing pattern Musashi used. In moments before engagement, Musashi practiced a specific pattern: one controlled breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. The exhale was always longer than the inhale. This was deliberate. A longer exhale sends a signal to the brain that danger is decreasing. Heart rate slows, muscles loosen, vision widens. The mind follows the body. Musashi did not breathe to relax. He breathed to command. A modern version of this technique is simple and effective. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds. Exhale through the mouth for 6 seconds. Even one cycle begins shifting the nervous system. 2 or 3 cycles noticeably calm the body. This works in meetings, arguments, high-pressure conversations, moments before speaking, anywhere tension rises. Why this works under pressure? When confrontation escalates, your body prepares for danger, whether you want it to or not. Blood moves away from the brain toward the muscles. Fine motor skills degrade. Complex thinking collapses. This is useful in survival. It is disastrous in communication. Strategic breathing reverses this process. It brings blood flow back to the brain. It restores decision-making. It keeps perception wide instead of narrow. Musashi used this to maintain clarity while others lost it. Calm that cannot be taken. Here is what makes this principle powerful. No one can stop you from breathing. They can insult you, they can interrupt you, they can provoke you, but they cannot control your breath. This makes breathing the most reliable anchor in any confrontation. Musashi relied on nothing he could not carry into every duel. Breath was always there. The body as an ally. Most people treat their body as something that betrays them under stress. My heart races. My hands shake. My chest tightens. Musashi saw the body differently. The body was a messenger. If breathing became shallow, it was a signal to slow it. If tension rose, it was a cue to soften posture. He did not fight these signals. He used them. Breath and presence. Strategic breathing does more than calm you. It anchors you in the present moment. You cannot breathe deliberately in the future or the past. Breath exists only now. This presence breaks the mental loops that fuel anxiety and anger. Musashi's opponents were often mentally ahead, imagining victory, or behind, replaying mistakes. Musashi was here. That alone was an advantage. Modern proof of an ancient method. Modern neuroscience confirms what Musashi practiced intuitively. Slow breathing increases heart rate variability, a marker of emotional regulation and resilience. It enhances focus, impulse control, and emotional stability. Elite military units train breathing before combat. Surgeons use it before complex procedures. Athletes use it before competition. The principle has not changed. Only the context has. Why most people fail to use this? The technique is simple. That is why people dismiss it. They assume calm requires complex strategies, clever words, or dominant posture. Musashi knew better. Complexity fails under pressure. Simplicity survives. Breath is simple. Using breath. During conflict. When someone raises their voice, breathe once before responding. When tension spikes in a meeting, breathe once before speaking. When you feel the urge to react immediately, breathe once before acting. That single breath creates a gap, and in that gap lies choice. The hidden effect on others. Here is something subtle. When your breathing stays slow and controlled, others feel it. Humans unconsciously mirror each other's nervous systems. Your calm destabilizes aggression. Your steadiness disrupts escalation. Musashi's opponents often felt unsettled before they understood why. They could not provoke the reaction they expected. That uncertainty weakened them. Calm is contagious, or dominant. In any interaction, one nervous system leads. If both are reactive, chaos escalates. If one remains regulated, the other often follows, or collapses. Musashi ensured it was always his nervous system that set the tone. Breath as a bridge. Emotional distance creates space. Foresight creates preparation. Breath creates control. This is the bridge between inner clarity and outer action. Without it, calm remains fragile. With it, calm becomes physical, unshakable. But Musashi did not stop there. Calm, foresight, and physiological control are powerful, but they still need direction. Otherwise, calm becomes passive. This brings us to the final principle in his system, purpose. Because calm without purpose is just restraint. Calm with purpose becomes mastery. Comment Purpose if you want Part 4, where Musashi's final principle turns calm into decisive, controlled action that ends conflicts instead of prolonging them. Calm without direction is incomplete. You can step outside your emotions. You can anticipate what's coming. You can regulate your body under pressure and still lose the confrontation. Because calm alone does not decide outcomes. Purpose does. Miyamoto Musashi understood this better than anyone. He saw countless fighters who mastered technique and composure, yet still failed because they had no clear aim once the clash began. Their calm turned into hesitation. Their restraint turned into passivity. Musashi refused to let that happen. This is why the fourth principle of his system was purposeful action. Chapter 4. Purposeful action. Calm with direction. Musashi believed that emotions are powerful, but purpose is stronger. Anger pushes you forward blindly, fear pulls you backward instinctively, purpose cuts through both. In the Book of Five Rings, Musashi repeatedly emphasizes that a warrior must not strike out of emotion, but must always act in service of a larger objective. Victory was never about winning the exchange in front of him. It was about shaping the entire encounter. His opponents fought to react. Musashi fought to decide. That difference ended duels in seconds. Why most confrontations spiral? Think about arguments that get out of control. They start with one issue, then expand into many, then turn personal, then become about winning, not resolving. This happens because both sides lose purpose. Once purpose is lost, emotion fills the vacuum. Musashi never allowed that vacuum. Before entering any confrontation, he knew exactly what he wanted to accomplish, not vaguely, not emotionally, precisely. Purpose shrinks the battlefield. Purpose acts like a filter. When you know your objective, irrelevant provocations lose power, insults bounce off, side arguments fall away, emotional bait stops working, your attention stays narrow and effective. Musashi's opponents often tried to intimidate, provoke, or rush him. These tactics only worked on fighters who were emotionally invested in proving something. Musashi was invested in one thing only: execution of his objective. Everything else was noise, the trap of playing the other person's game. When someone confronts you emotionally, they are inviting you into their frame, their urgency, their anger, their insecurity. The moment you react emotionally, you accept that invitation. Musashi never did. Purpose allowed him to reject the frame entirely. He did not respond to emotion. He responded to strategy. That is dominance without aggression. A simple rule. Musashi lived by: never enter a confrontation without defining your objective. Not your reaction, not your defense, your outcome. This objective must be long-term, not emotional. Not, I want to shut them down, but I want to preserve authority. I want to clarify boundaries. I want to end this conversation cleanly. This clarity changes everything. Purpose in modern conflict. Before a difficult conversation, ask yourself one question. What outcome actually serves my long-term goals here? Not what feels good in the moment, not what proves a point, what moves your life forward. Then hold that purpose in your attention throughout the interaction. When emotions rise, silently return to it. This becomes your anchor. Why? This works under pressure. When emotions spike, attention scatters. Purpose concentrates it. Your words become fewer. Your actions become deliberate. Your tone becomes controlled. You stop over-explaining. You stop defending unnecessarily. You move directly. Musashi's movements in combat were famous for their simplicity. No wasted motion, no flourish, no drama. Purpose stripped away everything unnecessary. Calm with teeth. There is a misconception that calm equals softness. Musashi disproved this completely. His calm was lethal because it was directed. Purpose does not make you passive. It makes you precise. When action is required, you act cleanly. When restraint is required, you wait without tension. Both come from the same place. Emotional control versus emotional suppression. Purposeful action does not mean ignoring emotion. It means subordinating it. Anger can add intensity, if aligned with purpose. Fear can add caution, if aligned with purpose. But emotion never leads. Purpose leads. Emotion follows or fades. This hierarchy is what keeps calm from turning into indecision. Why purpose ends. Conflicts. Faster. Most conflicts persist because neither side knows what they want beyond being right. Purpose ends that cycle. When you know your objective, you stop feeding unnecessary exchanges. You don't chase last words. You don't escalate. You don't get pulled sideways. You close the interaction when your objective is met. Musashi ended duels quickly because he never extended them emotionally. Efficiency was a form of mercy to himself. The deeper meaning of purpose. At its highest level, purpose is not situational. It is personal. Musashi's ultimate purpose was mastery of the way. Every duel, every encounter, every challenge served that aim. This is why his calm never broke. His purpose was larger than any single conflict. When your purpose is small, confrontations feel huge. When your purpose is large, confrontations shrink. Bringing it all together. Emotional distance creates space. Anticipatory awareness removes surprise. Strategic breathing stabilizes the body. Purposeful action directs everything forward. This is the complete system. Without purpose, calm drifts. With purpose, calm becomes command. There is one final truth hidden inside this system. When you master emotional control deeply enough, many confrontations never begin at all. Because people sense it. They feel that you cannot be easily provoked. They sense that escalation will not work, and unconsciously they disengage. This is the quiet power Musashi carried, not domination, not intimidation, clarity. In the final part, we'll uncover the deepest consequence of this mastery. Why true emotional control doesn't just help you win conflicts, but reveals which conflicts are never worth entering at all. That is where real power begins. Comment final if you want part 5, where Musashi's rule reveals why the strongest person is often the one who never fights. There is a final truth hidden beneath everything Musashi taught. It is not how to win every confrontation. It is how to recognize which confrontations are not worth your energy at all. Miyamoto Musashi did not become legendary because he fought constantly. He became legendary because he fought selectively. And as his mastery deepened, something unexpected happened. The number of battles he needed to fight decreased. Chapter 5. The highest form of calm. Knowing when not to engage. Most people think strength is proven through confrontation, defending every insult, correcting every misunderstanding, responding to every challenge. This belief keeps people exhausted. Musashi saw the opposite. He understood that every confrontation has a cost, not just physical or emotional, but mental. Attention spent on unnecessary conflict is attention stolen from your path. The most advanced form of emotional control is not staying calm inside conflict. It is not being pulled into conflict at all. Why calm changes the battlefield before it begins. When you master emotional distance, foresight, breathing, and purpose, something subtle shifts in how others experience you. They feel it. They sense that emotional manipulation will not work. They sense that escalation will not destabilize you. They sense that provoking you will not produce the reaction they expect. And because most confrontations are fueled by reaction, they collapse without fuel. Musashi did not need to intimidate. His calm was intimidation. To the ego trap. Most unnecessary conflicts are driven by ego, the need to be right, the need to be respected, the need to win socially. Ego demands engagement. Musashi transcended this, not because he lacked pride, but because he understood cost. Ego trades long-term clarity for short-term satisfaction. That trade always ends in exhaustion. Musashi never paid that price. The quiet power of non-engagement. Non-engagement is often misunderstood as weakness. In reality, it requires immense strength. It means allowing an insult to pass without response, allowing misunderstanding without immediate correction, allowing others to believe what they will. This restraint is only possible when your sense of self is stable. Musashi did not need validation. Therefore, provocation had nowhere to land. Conflict as information, not obligation. Musashi viewed confrontation as information. It revealed temperament, it revealed intention, it revealed weakness, but information does not always require response. Sometimes the correct move is observation. Sometimes the correct move is withdrawal. Sometimes the correct move is silence. This discernment is mastery. Modern life and endless conflict. Today, confrontations are constant. Social media encourages reaction. Work environments reward defensiveness. Relationships suffer from unresolved stress. People are pulled into battles they never chose. Musashi's system offers an escape, not through avoidance, through clarity. When you know your purpose, most conflicts become irrelevant. The final transformation. At the beginning of this system, calm was a tool for control. At the end, calm becomes a filter. It shows you what deserves your energy, what deserves your attention, what deserves your time. Everything else falls away. Musashi reached a point where he no longer needed to prove anything through combat. His presence alone carried weight. The ultimate rule. Here is the final rule Musashi lived by. Never fight battles that do not move you closer to your path. This applies everywhere. Arguments that go nowhere, debates that change nothing, conflicts fueled by pride instead of purpose. They drain life without giving anything back. The calmest person in the room is often the one who has already decided what matters. Bringing it all together. This is Musashi's complete rule of calm. Step outside emotion, anticipate patterns, control the body through breath, act with purpose. Choose your battles wisely. Most people stop at step 1 or 2. Musashi completed the path. The final insight. The strongest person is not the one who wins every confrontation. It is the one who cannot be easily pulled into unnecessary ones. That person moves freely. That person conserves energy. That person walks their path undisturbed. This is the calm that cannot be shaken, not because nothing challenges it, but because nothing irrelevant can reach it. If this series changed how you see conflict, comment with one situation you're ready to stop engaging in, and one that truly deserves your calm, focused attention. At the deepest level, what Musashi mastered was not conflict. It was self-possession. Miyamoto Musashi understood something few ever realize. The moment you truly control yourself, the world loses much of its power over you. Provocation weakens, pressure fades, chaos becomes background noise. This is where the samurai rule reaches its final form. The state beyond calm. Calm, as most people understand it, is fragile. It depends on circumstances. It breaks under sustained pressure. It disappears when things escalate. What Musashi embodied was not calm as a mood. It was calm as a state of being, a state where reactions no longer lead, where attention is deliberate, where emotion is experienced but not obeyed. This is not suppression, it is sovereignty. Why most people never reach this state? The modern world trains the opposite. React quickly, express instantly, defend publicly, respond emotionally. This constant reactivity fragments attention and drains energy. People live in a permanent state of low-level agitation, mistaking stimulation for engagement and outrage for strength. Musashi would see this clearly. He would say that a person who reacts to everything is owned by everything. Ownership of the self requires selectivity. The samurai rule in its final form. The rule is simple but severe. Nothing outside you is allowed to decide how you act unless you permit it. Not insults, not pressure, not expectations, not fear. This rule does not make you passive, it makes you precise. You choose when to speak, you choose when to act, you choose when to remain silent. That choice is power. Presence as dominance. There is a reason calm presence feels intimidating. It removes leverage. People rely on emotional hooks to control outcomes, anger, guilt, urgency, fear. When those hooks fail, their influence collapses. Musashi's presence alone disrupted opponents. They could not rush him, they could not frighten him, they could not bait him, and when those tools failed, they were left exposed. This dynamic still exists today. The person who remains grounded when others escalate, quietly, controls the interaction. The end of inner noise. The final result of Musashi's rule is silence. Not external silence, but internal. No constant self-talk, no replaying arguments, no rehearsing responses. This silence conserves enormous energy. Most exhaustion is not physical, it is cognitive. Musashi eliminated cognitive waste. That is why he endured. Living this rule daily. You do not need conflict to practice this rule. You practice it every time you pause before reacting. Every time you breathe instead of rushing. Every time you let something pass without response. Each choice strengthens self-command. Over time, reactivity weakens. Eventually, calm is no longer something you do. It is something you are. Why? This changes your entire life. When you stop reacting automatically, clarity spreads everywhere. Decisions become cleaner, relationships become simpler, work becomes focused. You stop wasting energy on battles that do not matter. You move forward without friction. This is not emotional coldness. It is emotional efficiency. The final insight. Musashi did not seek peace. He sought clarity. Peace was the result. Clarity reveals what deserves engagement and what does not. And once you see that clearly, most conflict dissolves on its own. The true danger revisited. At the beginning, we said the most dangerous person in any confrontation is the calmest. Now you understand why. Not because they are detached from reality, but because they are fully present, fully controlled, and fully selective. They are not fighting for ego. They are acting from alignment. The path forward. If you take nothing else from this system, take this. Your reactions are optional. Your attention is valuable. Your energy is finite. Spend them only where they matter. This is the samurai rule that cannot be countered. Not by aggression. Not by manipulation. Not by pressure. Because it begins and ends with mastery of the self. Comment: mastery. If you're ready to stop reacting to everything and start choosing how you show up in every conflict. Thank you for watching this video. Click here to watch another video that might interest you.